Nike accidentally revealed everything, and nobody was supposed to witness it. This soon 10 days before Alex Eala stepped onto one of the biggest courts in professional tennis, she walked through a tunnel at Nike World Headquarters in Oregon, and what happened inside those walls didn't stay inside. It spread globally. Instantly, millions of eyes locked onto images that were never meant to ignite the internet the way they did portraits. Messages, a flower, a declaration carved in text that read, "History in full bloom." This wasn't accidental. Or maybe it was. That's the question burning through every tennis community, every Filipino household, every sports analyst who watched those Instagram stories go live on February 27, 2026. Because here's what you need to understand before anything else. What Nike placed on that tunnel wall doesn't just celebrate a 20-year-old athlete, it announces a dynasty in the making. And by the time this video ends, you'll see every piece of this puzzle the way Nike intended, whether they meant to show it or not. Stay locked in, because this story gets deeper with every chapter. Born May 23, 2005, in Quezon City, Philippines, Alexandra Eala entered a world where Filipino women had never cracked the top 50 in professional tennis. Not once, not ever. The sport, at its highest level, had simply never seen a Filipina standing among the elite, not because the talent wasn't there, but because the pathway never existed. Eala built her own. At just 8 years old, Globe Telecom recognized something extraordinary in a child barely old enough to understand sponsorship deals, signing her as an ambassador and planting a seed of belief before the world even knew her name. She trained relentlessly, traveled internationally, and absorbed every experience like a sponge absorbing the Pacific Ocean, endlessly, hungrily, without limit. By 2020, she had climbed to a combined ITF junior ranking of world number 2. By 2022, she shattered an entire nation's ceiling, becoming the first Filipino ever to claim a Grand Slam junior singles title, winning the girls category at the U.S. Open. That victory didn't just rewrite Philippine tennis history. It announced loudly and without apology that something seismic had arrived. Nike had already seen enough. They outfitted her on court, watched her compete, observed the way she carried herself under pressure, and recognized a generational brand athlete when one materialized before them. The partnership deepened year by year, tournament by tournament, milestone by milestone. Then came March 2025. Armed with a wild card and ranked 140, Eala walked into the Miami Open as a qualifier that nobody circled on their bracket. What followed belongs in a different conversation entirely. She defeated Yelena Ostapenko. She dismantled Madison Keys. She toppled 5-time Grand Slam champion Iga Swiatek, becoming the first wild card in tennis history to eliminate 3 major champions in straight sets at a single WTA event. The Philippines erupted, the tennis world stopped breathing, and Eala simply walked back to the baseline, composed, as though she had always belonged there. By March 31, 2025, she entered the WTA Top 100, the first Filipino woman in history to achieve that positioning. By February 23, 2026, she reached a career-high ranking of world number 31, leaping 16 places in a single week. Every tournament she entered, packed stadiums followed. In Oceania, in the Middle East, wherever Alexandra Eala appeared, an entire nation traveled with her. And Nike watched every single match. But here's what nobody was prepared for, what Nike did next. February 27, 2026, Oregon, United States. Eala had just arrived on American soil, touching down early to prepare for 2 of the most consequential tournaments of her professional life, the Indian Wells Open beginning March 4th and the Miami Open launching March 17th, both WTA 1000 events, both career-defining opportunities, both capable of pushing her into the top 20 for the first time. Before a single serve was struck, before a single practice session commenced, she made a detour. Nike World Headquarters, Beaverton, Oregon. The very campus where legends are enshrined, where Michael Jordan's legacy breathes through architecture, where athletes who have transcended their sport are permanently immortalized in corridors that the general public rarely glimpses. Eala walked in, captured everything on Instagram stories, and pressed share. What happened next moved at digital speed. She shared a series of snaps from the headquarters of the global sportswear brand, including a video of her showcasing a photo wall that displayed some of her milestone moments. But it wasn't merely photographs on a wall. Inside the legendary tunnel, the hallowed passageway where Nike's greatest global ambassadors across every sport are enshrined, Alexandra Eala's portrait now hung. One portrait featured the text, "History in full bloom," stated along the legendary tunnel featuring other Nike global ambassadors across all sports, where Eala posed with a big smile and a peace sign. And then came the image that paralyzed the internet. Eala mirrored the biggest portrait on display, with both hands on her face in disbelief and tears after barging into the Final Four of the Miami Open last year. That photograph, frozen in the raw emotion of a wild-card teenager realizing she had just reached a WTA 1000 semifinal, now occupied permanent space among the most celebrated athletes on the planet. The internet didn't just react, it detonated. Within hours, the images cascaded across every platform. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook pages across the Philippines and beyond. Sports journalists, tennis analysts, Filipino celebrities, and millions of fans began screenshotting, sharing, theorizing. GMA Sports posted, "Eala at the Nike HQ. Filipina tennis star Alex Eala dropped by Nike's world headquarters in Oregon, USA, where her journey was celebrated in portraits on display." The tennis letter posted the images, threads lit up, comment sections overflowed with one persistent question. What exactly does this mean? Because nobody accidentally gets their portrait hung in that tunnel. Nobody accidentally receives a custom welcome at Nike's most prestigious address. This wasn't a casual drop-by. This was orchestrated, deliberate, and saturated with intention. So what was Nike truly communicating? Keep watching because the next chapter reveals every hidden detail. Let's examine precisely what greeted Alexandra Eala when she arrived at Nike World Headquarters. Not the surface, the substance. One picture showed her lying on a ping-pong table with an image of the sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines. She also captured her elegant Nike Air Rift split-toe sandal with a miniature tennis court featuring the same flower. This wasn't decoration, this was deliberate cultural architecture. Nike didn't simply place a Philippine national flower on merchandise and call it branding, they wove Filipino identity into the very DNA of Eala's ambassador relationship. This was a calculated, sustained, multi-year investment in connecting her athletic identity to her cultural heritage, making her simultaneously a world-class tennis competitor and an unbreakable symbol of Philippine pride. The two identities don't compete, they amplify each other. Consider the Wimbledon moment from 2025. For her Wimbledon debut, Nike gifted Eala a hair tie designed in the form of a sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines. The gift arrived in a specially designed box carrying a heartfelt message, "Kung mi tinanim mi anian," translating to, "If you plant, you will harvest." Then, months later, Nike released an Eala-inspired limited edition shirt designed by Filipino artist Georgina Camus featuring the national flower overlaid on the All England Lawn Tennis Club's grass courts. Recognize the pattern. A custom hair accessory for Wimbledon, a limited edition cultural shirt celebrating her heritage, custom portraits immortalized at global headquarters, personalized gifts during the Oregon visit. This isn't standard ambassador treatment, this is signature athlete architecture, the same level of investment Nike reserves for generational figures. During her visit, the 20-year-old received customized gifts, including displays featuring her own images, highlighting her growing stature in the international tennis scene. And the Nike deal renewal? The apparel giant recently renewed its partnership with Eala in a deal reportedly valued at $75 million. $75 million for a 20-year-old ranked 31st in the world at the dawn of what analysts believe could be a decade-long dominance at the top of professional tennis. Nike doesn't invest $75 million in athletes they view as promising. They invest that figure in athletes they view as inevitable. But before the truth fully surfaced, something chaotic happened online that you need to know about. The viral momentum surrounding Eala's Nike headquarters visit collided with something uglier and far more revealing about her cultural impact. Across Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, fabricated stories began multiplying at a velocity that legitimate news couldn't match. A Facebook post alleging that Wilson had offered her a $45 million contract was debunked by fact-checking outlets. Rumors of a Yonex racket engraved with Philippine icon are untrue, as she remains under contract with Babolat. Social media claims of an Emirates airline sponsorship were also flagged as fake, with no official announcement to back them. Then, a viral post emerged claiming Michael Jordan personally selected Eala as the new face of Air Jordan, attaching an astronomical $1.8 billion figure to the arrangement. Communities across the Philippines celebrated. Comment sections flooded with pride and congratulations. The post gathered thousands of reactions within a day. None of it was verified. None of it was real. Then came the most extravagant fabrication of all. Multiple posts on Facebook circulated a claim that Eala received a multi-billion-dollar offer from Abu Dhabi billionaire Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan. A supposed 10-year contract consisting of a $1 billion down payment and $600 million annually in exchange for staying in the UAE capital as queen of a new Abu Dhabi Diamond Tennis Championship. Fact-checkers at Verifiles and Rappler moved swiftly. There is no official statement from Wilson Sporting Goods or Eala about any such deal. There are no news reports about it, only similar posts on social media. But here's what demands genuine attention beyond the debunking. Why does this keep happening? Why does Alex Eala's name attract fabricated billions with such consistency? What does it reveal? It reveals the size of her cultural gravity. When an athlete generates fake deal stories valued in the billions, stories that accumulate hundreds of thousands of reactions before correction arrives, it means the world already perceives them as someone whose financial trajectory could plausibly reach those stratospheric heights. The Filipino public isn't naive, they're projecting. They're watching a young woman from Quezon City dismantle Grand Slam champions and ascending with such velocity that billion-dollar figures feel emotionally correct, even when factually false. That perception gap between verified reality and aspirational fiction is itself a form of cultural power, and Nike understands cultural power better than almost any organization on earth. Eala's real story is already inspiring. She has collected Grand Slam junior titles, climbed steadily in the WTA rankings, and secured endorsements from trusted companies that recognize her discipline and talent. Still at the beginning of her professional journey, she continues to affirm her potential through legitimate partnerships that provide both support and credibility. The fabrications don't diminish her, they measure her. And what Nike's real plans reveal about her future makes every fake story irrelevant. Here's the truth that sits beneath everything you just witnessed. Alexandra Eala's story isn't about a sponsorship deal. It isn't about a viral Instagram story or fabricated billions or portraits hanging in a tunnel in Oregon. It's about a girl who planted and is now beginning to harvest. From Quezon City to Nike's most legendary corridor, from junior wild card to WTA number 31, from a nation that had never produced a top 50 professional tennis player to a global brand investment worth $75 million and growing, every piece of this journey was earned, not inherited. The portrait on that Nike wall isn't just a moment frozen in time, it's a promise, from one of the most powerful sports brands on earth, that they intend to invest in this woman's legacy for years to come. And that promise, whether Nike intended to reveal it this week or not, is now visible to everyone. So here's the question worth leaving in your mind long after this video ends. 10 years from now, when people trace back the precise moment the world understood how far Alexandra Eala was always going to go, will they point to Miami, 2025? Or will they point to a tunnel in Oregon, on February 27, 2026, where her portrait stood quietly among giants, and nobody noticed until it was already too late to look away? Drop your answer below. The conversation belongs to you. If this story moved you, if you believe Alexandra Eala deserves every corner of that spotlight, smash that subscribe button right now. New videos covering the biggest stories in women's tennis drop every week. You don't want to miss what comes next.